The first thing that I'd like to do is give you an exercise to help you prioritize what you need to do in your life. Most people think of prioritization as being something you do in the moment. Well, I've got to figure out what my priorities are right now. But really, prioritizing in the moment is, if you don't have the bigger priorities figured out, is just a waste of time. It's actually counterproductive, because if you don't have your priorities figured out in the bigger picture, you're going to be trying to use the details to make bigger goals happen, and it's just a backwards way of thinking. It's something that you can't get there from here. So when it comes to prioritizing, what we want to do is we want to find that overlap where our strength overlaps with the highest leverage activities inside of our business and our life, right? The highest lifetime value and the highest dollar per hour value activities. And then what we want to do is we want to figure out where we're going, what the outcome is that we want. We want to figure out what it is that we're trying to achieve. And once we know all of those pieces, then prioritization becomes relatively easy. So what I'd like you to do right now is do a little exercise around prioritization. But instead of prioritizing a list of to-dos for one day, I want you to prioritize what you're trying to accomplish with your life. Okay, what are you trying to accomplish long term? So let's start with a 10-year prioritization exercise. Okay, 10 years. Most people are not used to thinking in these terms, so it might take a little bit of jiggering around with your brain to get yourself to do this. But get out a blank piece of paper right now and ask yourself where you would like to be personally and in business in 10 years. 10 years. So how would you like to feel on the three levels: physically, emotionally, and logically? And where would you like to be financially and in business? What would you like to be doing in business with your time? Who would you like to be working with? And how much money would you like to have in savings, in assets, and how much money would you like to be making specifically? So go ahead and take a couple of minutes right now and just do a quick thumbnail sketch of where you would like to be in 10 years, physically, emotionally, and logically, and then in business, how much you'd like to have in cash and assets and how much you'd like to be making per year. So go ahead and pause the video for a moment and do that now. Okay, good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to chunk that down a little bit, and we're going to try to figure out what we should be doing with the time in our day. Okay, because what we need to do is figure out what to do right now. Like when we wake up, we show up at the office, all right, what do I do? Well, I would like to ask you, what are the activities that you could do right now that would give you the highest probability of achieving those 10-year goals? Let me give you an example. When I started one of the businesses that I have right now, which gives dating advice to men and actually to women as well, I started out and I had to figure out where I wanted to be long term. And ultimately, I wanted to be financially independent. I wanted to be able to do whatever I wanted with my time. And I wanted to be able to work from choice, not from obligation. And I wanted a certain lifestyle. I've had this broken down to really specific goals, the type of place I wanted to live, even to the kind of car that I wanted to drive, which incidentally, I live in the place that I've always wanted to live right now, and I have the car that I want to drive that I've wanted for years and so forth. So this stuff is very powerful. And what I did is I chunked it down and I looked at the activities in my life where I was uniquely talented, where I really enjoyed what I did, and that made me the most short and long-term kind of financial and business value, and I just focused most of my time there. And as it turned out, and interestingly enough, it's kind of come full circle, and it's becoming that again because I've been starting some new businesses lately. It's focusing my time creating marketing and content. Marketing and content. And marketing had to do with writing marketing copy and setting up relationships with partners who could sell our products, and creating the content is like what I'm doing right here. Creating the content, creating the products, creating the books, creating the videos, creating the seminars, that kind of stuff. And that's what I did. I would spend at least half of my time doing those activities. Actually, it was probably more than half. It was probably something like, 60 or 70% during the period that I'm thinking of here. And it took a while, right? It took several months of doing this consistently over and over and over before I started to really get some traction in it. It really started to take off. And then what I found is that by compounding this over months and then years of time, I was able to build huge momentum that led me to the point where I really enjoy my life. I have the kind of flexibility and freedom that I really want. So for you, can you find those few high priority activities, those few high priority overlap points between your strength, right, that talent that you've developed into a strength, and the high dollar per hour and high lifetime value activities within your business? And if you can figure that little piece out, figure out where you want to be in 10 years, you'll know now what to do every day. And then it comes down to the ultimate challenge, which is getting yourself to actually do it. And that's why we use the 60-60-30 solution. That's why we try to not do multitasking all the time. We use enlightened multitasking. That's why we try to get rid of the friction and the interruptions and so forth, so that we can stay focused on those really, really high leverage activities. So now you know what to do. Okay, prioritize, and then spend those, first hopefully 4 1-hour sessions of the day in those specific tasks and activities and kind of strength zones where you're focusing what you're good at on the points that make the most short and long-term money inside your business. Now, the second thing you want to do now is figure out where you need to clean the grill in your life on a regular basis, inside your personal life and inside your business. And for now, let's just choose one of each, just one. And where we can start is on these high leverage things. So in your personal life, the highest leverage thing that you have is probably the thing that brings you the most joy and the most fulfillment, the most health, the most strength, something that's really meaningful to you. It might be this morning ritual that you've been doing, hopefully every day now for almost 2 months. It might be something inside of your work where you're doing something that has a lot of value. Maybe it's something like what I'm doing here where you're teaching somebody or a group of people, and you really enjoy doing it. You get a lot of value out of it. You contribute a lot of value. Those places that are really high leverage in your business and personal life, look to those to start figuring out where you could clean the grill to set yourself up for success. Let me give you an example from my life. All right, I have a morning ritual right now where I wake up and I do a whole bunch of different things. I've added a bunch of pieces. So I start out, I wake up, I go to the kitchen, I drink a ½ liter of water. I actually put on this electric hot pot that I have to boil water, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. Then I go into the bathroom and I brush and I floss and I scrape my tongue and I do mouthwash and I really just take care of the oral hygiene. And then I come back into the kitchen and now my hot water pot has boiled the water, and I've got one with the automatic turn off so that the water's hot in there. And I put the hot water into this little neti pot that I have, and I put some cool water in there too, and I make it warm, and I flush my sinuses. Then I take the rest of the hot water and I pour it in a bowl with some drops of eucalyptus oil, and I inhale that steam to really open up my sinuses and my lungs and get more oxygen flowing there. And then I go and do some exercise, and I have some cardiovascular that I do, and I have some weights and some yoga, and there's just a lot of pieces to this. And what I found is every time I add something new, it messes the system up a little bit, because I've got to go, okay, now where did I leave my shoes for going out and doing the cardio on the stairs? And where's my iPod for listening to something while I'm doing that? Where did I leave that? And in the morning, where's my toothbrush? Oh, I didn't leave it on the charger. And there are all these different pieces that have to go together to make that so that I can just move smoothly from one to the next. So as an example, now what I have is I've got my hot water pot set in a certain place on the counter where it lives that's optimal, so that when I come in the morning, I can use it. I've got bottled water in these big bottles, and I've got them in this cabinet that's in just the right place at just the right height where it's very quick for me to run through everything. And I keep the bowl that I pour the water into to inhale the steam right there on my stove, so it's always right there. And in the bathroom, I keep my toothbrush on its charger all the time in the right place, and the floss and the mouthwash and the tongue scraper are all in the right place, and I've set it all up so that I can be successful next time. And what I've found is that if I just blast through and I drag things from one place to the next and I leave them all over the place, it makes my morning ritual very disorganized, very disorienting, and also gives me a much higher probability that I'm going to get distracted and I'm going to run into some kind of butterfly trigger that's going to make me think of something and I'm going to go, oh, I should go do this. So what I try to do Every time I use one of these elements in my ritual is when I'm finished, I try to clean the grill by putting it back and setting it in state so that tomorrow when I come back, it's there and ready for me to use, if that makes sense. Put the toothbrush in the right place. Put the bowl on the stove so that it's ready for the water. Make sure the hot water pot is in just the right place. Make sure the drops that I use, the eucalyptus drops, are in the exact right place in the cupboard. So I'm constantly now trying to use and then clean the grill. Do my activity and then clean the grill. So where could you do this? Where could you start with one thing in your personal life and one thing in your business life that would allow you to show up and immediately dive in without having a lot of distraction and to get organized first because you've already set yourself up for success? Where are 2 areas you could do that? Take a moment right now, pause the video, and write down 2 places you could do it and make a list of just a couple of quick bullet points that you could do at the end of each session to set yourself up for a successful session next time.